Come on, go live.
Sorry,
There it is.
my was muted.
Well, hey, Sinister Seekers. Welcome to Studio Sinister Live, Haunted Hawaii and Forbidden Truths. I'm your host, Farah, and alongside me is my best friend and partner in all things eerie.
I'm Courtney.
And we're your guides through the twisted paths of the strange, the unexplained, and the downright sinister. Can you hear that?
Ooh.
So, Courtney, this is our first live stream, and we are live on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. So, give me your first thoughts as always, because I know I love to hear those.
The backgrounds that we have going on right now remind me of the live investigation we did from your haunted cave in your cabin.
Oh my God, yes.
That's what the vibe is right now, and I'm really excited about that.
I like it. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just thinking about what the whole ambiance of the episode was going to be about. But you're right. Like the cave. Oh my gosh, that was such fun when we did that. And I don't know if you have all followed me, any of you. If you're new to us, I started off doing the Conversation Cabin podcast where I was living on 488 acres of land with a haunted cave and a haunted cabin. And Courtney and I had actually did an investigation. She wasn't with me, of course, but we were doing it live, and it was pretty interesting. And it's up on YouTube. If you guys want to go and take a look on Studio Sinister's YouTube channel, it is still there. So, but I want to thank anyone that's here with us. Do we have our live chat up?
Give me a sec.
Yeah, will you handle that?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to do the banners. Did you see that? And if you are new to us, Courtney has her own individual show called Haunts, which is available on all streaming platforms as well. Great. Courtney is a great writer. I talk her up a lot because she is one of the few people that do a very good. She writes the story. She doesn't just mouth it off. She really wants you to be intrigued by it, enhanced by it, and feel it. So go over there and check it out because I'm her biggest fan, and I want you to do that right now. But other than that, first of all, we're going to get with what it's a listener favorite. It's called What's Haunting You? Really, what's haunting us, but either way is good. And I do want to start out before what we were going to talk about, and we are going to talk about, but I also want to let everyone know, if you're new here, again, that Courtney and I each live in a haunted house. So, and if you haven't been following along with Studio Sinister from the start, which was January 1st, please go back and listen because we do a little bit of an explanation of where we started and where it's at now. Actually, both of our partners, our husbands, Todd and Jake, have been experiencing a lot of things. I just told Courtney yesterday of the story that happened to me last week, which I'm going to tell you all because I find it very terrifying.
I hate it.
First of all, let's go back a week before that. And I had told you again, I told Courtney, I tell her everything. As soon as it happens, I text her. But what had happened was I was in bed taking a nap in the afternoon. And I felt Jake was away. He was at the store or school or something like that. But I was in and out of coming out of my nap. And All of a sudden, the bed moved. It was like somebody with their hip had shook the bed. My husband wasn't home yet. And the only other thing in my home that's living is my bird, who's about that big. So that was interesting. And we've been here since September. So we've had a lot of paranormal activity here. But that's where it got like really, not, I don't want to say aggressive, but
It
why would
got
it do
it got to me. I've had an experience like this from when I was like, God, probably like 16 years old. And it's quite jarring because that is the classic horror movie trope where the bed is shaking.
that?
And
Hmm.
it's to me, that is very akin to a negative entity. I couldn't tell you why, but that is
Right.
just what you know, I've always seen it associated with something that's negative, which is why I didn't like it. Not to interrupt you, but
No, no, of course. I always love to get your insight. And that's what brings us to last week. Again, Jake, this time I think it was last Friday. So he was off of school. Fridays are both of our days off. And he had gone to pick up some things at the store. And I'm taking my beauty nap, of course. And then all of a sudden I heard my bird tweeting. She does a tweet when like daddy's home because she hears him touch the keypad to unlock the door and stuff. So that's her key. I didn't hear that, but I had heard her. It started kind of waking me up. And then all of a sudden, I felt I was shaking in my bed. And I wanted to show you, it wasn't hard, but it was like if you're laying flat like this, it it's like that. So it was hard enough to where it kind of shook the room. It was a very heavy, it was like heavier than Jake. And even
mhm.
it was wiggling the TV. I could hear the TV crackling because it's like, plastic, of course. So yeah. And that was really scary. So we do have, when we run our shows that are about haunted places and paranormal, we actually live it.
Every
What she
day.
took something from it and has been haunted, and every day, and we think also that there's something between our.
Can we just
If
like
you want to say a little bit
talk
about that, Courtney.
can we just talk about it like from right now? And I'm sure both of our husbands are going to be very happy that we're talking about this, but you just texted me saying that Jake was sick. And literally randomly a couple nights ago, Todd has been like pretty under the weather as well. And I feel like it's every time we have activity in our houses, it's the two of them getting the brunt of it. And it's always similar issues. Jake sees a shadow figure, Todd sees a shadow figure. Jake gets sick, Todd gets sick. They're like, it's messing with them. And they're both more
See?
skeptical than you and I are. It's weird.
It's weird, and I honestly think that it's something that knows both of us. It is
I
coming
do too.
between our homes, and it's messing with our family. Just right before this, literally right before 20 minutes before we were going live, my husband was sitting here just watching me make myself up and everything for tonight, and then all of a sudden, I could just even feel his anxiety a little bit. It was like he was, like that. I Now that I know what happened, like when you're about to vomit and you're just like, you like kind of anxious because you don't want to have that
Yeah, and you're
feeling.
not sure.
Right. Like your mouth is watering, and that's now what it perceived to me that he was going through, was trying to, like, I don't want to do this. He literally ran out and ended up missing the commode. I mean, it was all over the mat in front, but he did it
Yeah.
about 3 or 4 times. So, and mind you, if you have listened to our past 2 episodes, Jake has woken up with like a burn mark on his ear, 3 like imprint marks on his face. So, has Todd ever had anything
Uh,
physical, like touching
um,
wise, scratchy wise?
He has. We've always attributed it to our dog. He's not a puppy anymore, but he is pretty small and hates having his nails clipped. So we always think that it's like maybe him, but he has woken up with stuff and we're like, what is this? But we've always been able to explain it away. I've never seen anything like what Jake has experienced on Todd in terms of like a burn mark on the face or something like that. That was a little more intense than anything we've had. Fingers crossed that doesn't continue for either of us. I don't want either of them to get, or either of us for that matter, to be attacked in our sleep. But no, he hasn't had
No,
anything like
God, no. I
super.
don't want that either. I just
Yeah.
didn't know. I figured you'd tell me, but again, with my COVID memory, I don't know if you have told me. And I just don't
No,
remember.
no.
So what we're going to get into tonight is our first What's Haunting You. So this is something that I brought up to Courtney a couple weeks ago. I had her study it and kind of look over it because it was something that after I watched it and I found out about it, it kind of conflicted me because I was raised Catholic, raised in the church until I was like 13 years old. And then
Hmm.
even after that, I had taught vacation Bible school in the summertime. So I was very like church oriented. I've done my fair share of sin, so it's not like, I'm, you know, a major holy person, of course. But there was something that I watched. It's from a gentleman called Billy Carson. So Billy Carson is this brainiac gentleman that I have just been so intrigued and infatuated with watching all of his videos on it's on Forbidden Knowledge on YouTube. So check out
Hmm.
his channel. So what it is, let me get my notes out. So the Bible. I was always taught that the Bible was the book of life, the book of our origins, pretty simple. Um, and I believe in God 100%. The part that makes me conflicted is the fact of there were people already here, millions of people already
Hmm.
here when Adam and Eve arrived. Now, I say that because Billy Carson is again a brainiac. He studies Sumerian tablets, ancient tablets. He goes to Egypt
Hmm.
constantly. He's been doing this for 20, 30 years. I mean, he's even an astrophysicist. He knows the constellations, the stars, everything. And you watched that video. So
Yeah.
first of all, like your first take on it, Courtney, what were your thoughts as it was playing, and then tell me what your thoughts were when it was done.
Okay. To be honest, I don't know how to put this without sounding like kind of out there. I was also raised Catholic just to, you know, forewarn everybody. We kind of had a similar path in that, right? Like, I went to Catholic school up until I was about 15 years old. Then, I went to public school, but I was always going to church just because that's how I was raised. I was born in the South, literally in the butt crack of the Bible Belt, which is like, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just the, kind of how I was brought up. But I always had been taught that the Bible itself is like an acronym, like the term like Holy Bible is he only left us basic instructions before leaving Earth. And again, I know that's kind of out there, but it's really that was the way it was taught to me. This is like the basic instructions of, but not even instructions, but just the teachings of Jesus Christ, both New Testament, Old Testament. But when you sent it to me, what was the title of the video, just to give the listeners an idea of what we're
I
talking about?
and I'll put all of this when we
Mhm.
publish the episode for anyone that missed it. Of course, I will go ahead and put it in the show notes. But I believe, let me look it up real quick because I had it up on my StreamYard. But I
It's
will first of all definitely go to his channel and subscribe to it because you
it's a
could listen to
really
him literally all day.
yeah, and the
Okay.
video in and of itself is a very interesting kind of lecture per se. But
Mhm.
anyways, the title. Sorry,
It
I
is
literally cut you off.
Forbidden Rants. Could the God of the Bible really be Satan?
Right.
By Billy
So
Carson.
that video, just by like the title and the first like few minutes watching it, I was intrigued, a little freaked out, obviously, because like you and I grew up, you know, and still pretty. I don't want to say pretty devoutly, but are pretty, you know, strong in our faith. So it's
Yes.
interesting to me that was a obviously quite the claim to make, but also at the same time, by the time it was over, I felt a little validated, if that makes sense, because I've
Mhm.
always been the kind of person, even though I was taught the, basic instructions acronym when I was in grade school, I have always felt like the Bible could potentially be inherently flawed because it was written by man, and we are as a species inherently flawed. So the way I kind of or what I took from it whilst watching it, I know that this can be interpreted a ton of different ways when you go back and watch the video. It's like almost 2 hours long and it's great.
Mhm.
But my whole interpretation of it was it's flawed because it's God may have given mankind, the like this is what it should say, or this is my, the message I'm trying to get across, but he wasn't telling them word for word what to write. Therefore, it could
Mhm.
have 100% been flawed or even manipulated by the people who were actually writing it. Um,
Right.
Obviously, I don't want to give too much away from the video itself because I'd rather people just go and watch it and see what we're talking about. But that has
Exactly.
been
Mhm.
the message that I have taken with me from it since I watched it like a week and a half ago, and it was
Mhm.
really interesting. A lot of it scared me. I will say a lot of it I, don't necessarily agree with all of it, but it was an interesting watch. So, what were your
This
thoughts,
is
Claire? 'Cause I'm dying to know.
Well, this is same as you. Now, especially when Billy had said the part, I don't know if you remember this, but remember when he was like, "Oh, so there was just someone sitting over there and Jesus was rattling off all this stuff and he's like, hey, could you repeat that one more time? I have to get this."
Right.
So, it was just it almost makes you feel like not I don't know. I don't want to say dumb because I believe there's a God no matter what. What I'm about to tell you about this, you can all think for yourself what you want to gather from it. I'm not saying that I believe it 100%. I'm just saying as with everything, it's always good to look at different views, different ways to look
Right.
at things. So, in a nutshell though, let's talk a little bit about the pantheon that came to Earth. So there were several interesting gods that came here, but the most significant one was Anu. Anu was considered to be the father and the head of the gods. He ruled from space or from the sky, as the ancient texts say. So again, I'm emphasizing on there are actual ancient texts, texts,
Text, yeah.
texts that spell this out,
Mhm.
that this thing, this man, this god came from space and he ruled everything. Now,
Mm.
Anu had two sons, which actually I am going to share my screen. Give me all a second, people. And this is our first time doing it live with on the Instagram and Twitter, all of that. So, forgive us if any, weird difficulties happen tech wise. Nothing's perfect. We all know that. Um,
Right.
so let me bring this somewhere. Where's that? Oh, there we go. Okay. Also share tab. Why is it doing that? Oh, yeah, entire screen. There we go. Okay.
There you go.
Share. All right. So can you see this,
Ooh.
Courtney?
Yeah.
Oh, I did bring it up. Oh, yay. Okay. Okay. So this is, let me pull it up.
Ooh, okay. We're getting some illustrations of the gods in here.
his two sons, Enki and Lil. Can you see those?
Yeah, it's a little small,
Okay.
but I
So,
can see it.
yeah, I'll get to a bigger one. I have a whole bunch here. Okay. So, as I was saying, defied, but they were not actually gods. This is what's
Mm.
crazy. They were flesh and blood beings who walked around just like us. Actually, I can zoom in. There we go. Who walked around just like us. They had advanced technology and wisdom far beyond our own. They understood genetics, chemistry, alchemy, quantum physics, and planetary alignments. They left behind records and artifacts that provide evidence of their knowledge and presence on Earth. What I find fascinating is that it wasn't that they were gods in the sense of like Zeus. They were actually the rulers before Adam and Eve. We were all taught that Adam and Eve was created from the rib of Adam, and that's what started. But if you really think about it, well, then who wrote the Bible? For Jesus. That's what Billy Carson's point was. If Adam and
Right.
Eve were the first ones that were here, then who wrote the Bible? Because who you have, I mean, it just in some way it doesn't make sense. Now, the two sons, Enki and Enlil, let me tell you about them. Now, one of them was more like empathetic, and that would be Enki, Enki. He was sympathetic. He was the one that married a human. He actually had a human baby that was named Zazidiel. And guess who Zazidiel was? Noah in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
they weren't
giving.
gods. Like I said, they were flesh and blood.
It kind of reminds me of the story,
Go
just
ahead.
the two of them. Not that they like, you know, I don't think they like murdered each other. If I might not be remembering that correctly, but it reminds me of Cain and Abel, the two of them.
No.
Right? Like they didn't harm each other, but the two of them remind me of one another.
They almost remind me of Cain and Abel in a way. Are you there? Oh, okay. You're
I think
lagging a
there's a
little bit
bit of,
on your end.
yeah,
I
there's
noticed.
a bit of a lag.
Yeah. We're trying the best we can. It's live. We wanted to bring it to you live, so here we are. Now, the other thing was, and this is the part I really want to pull out of it. So, like I said, there were millions on Earth before Adam. Adam was actually genetically modified. And the reason why he was so special is because he was able to reproduce. He was able to understand commands, and he was like the essence of perfection. And then they actually had cloned Adam from his DNA and made Eve. And those two had children together. So I just find, like I said, I just find it odd that who was writing the Bible if these were the first people on earth. You have to look at the time. And the time just doesn't match up. What do you think about that?
So I just feel like, yeah, like you said, it doesn't, something there isn't adding up. I don't know if it's necessarily like the time or if there's some sort of historical gap that we are unaware of.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it doesn't, the math ain't mathin', I guess I should say. It just doesn't add up to me, like the
Right.
timing of like when it was written and by who. Because like you could
Right. And
probably
that's
argue too, like, oh, it was written after the fact. And I think that's what they say is the case. Like someone wrote or people wrote it after the fact. Like each of the books was written like well after Christ was crucified. But I don't know.
right. And if
It
and it
seems
was
interesting.
And if it was when you read parts where said God said this or Jesus said this,
They're paraphrasing. I don't think that that's a direct quote is what I'm saying. You
but
know
there
what I
are
mean?
direct
Like,
quotes in there though,
right. I think they're
right?
kind of there are, but what I'm saying is that's the flawed part about it. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
can't they can like say like this is the overarching message, but they're taking creative liberties when it comes to like the quotes and stuff like that. Or so to say, or
right.
at least that's how I've always seen it, which is why the video itself felt kind of validating.
Right,
Hopefully
right.
that
And
makes
then there's
sense. You know what I
another
mean?
part. There's another part in here where it says the serpent in the garden. So we all know the serpent in the Garden of Eden was supposed to be bad. It was always conceived as being a negative thing. But in ancient times, the serpent was actually a symbol of wisdom and knowledge. If you know the medical icon, the two serpents that are intertwining, that's wisdom and knowledge. That sure
Dude,
isn't evil.
that
Like
blew
that means
my mind. When he brought it up, I was like, that is like I mean, it makes sense because like I've been taught that like a snake means like, you know, wisdom, knowledge, all that stuff. But when he was like, "Oh, like this is the codex that they use for like medical like degrees and stuff like that," I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
oh my god!" Like that is I don't know why I've never made that connection, but when he brought it up in that sort of a context, I was shocked. Obviously, I still am
so was
now,
I.
but
So was I, because why would that be on the front of a doctor's lab coat on hospitals if it meant evil? Then my gosh, nobody would walk into a hospital or see a doctor.
right. Or
But
like that's why everyone's scared. Not everyone, but there's a ton of like that's a huge phobia, a pretty common phobia, people being scared and fearful to go to the doctor.
mm,
And I wonder if
right.
that has like some sort of psychological like um impression on us. Like
Mhm.
obviously no one's like making that connection and being like, you have a snake on your shirt, I'm scared of you. But I wonder if psychologically there's something there.
I think so. I do. I think so. And the really cool thing is these two, Inky and Anil, so they were at odds with each other, but Enlil was given control of Earth, even though Enki's name was used to name the planet. So Enki is his name. The word Earth came from deriving from his name. Um, Enlil ruled and ran the planet while Enki operated underneath him. Enki was a scientist and a geneticist, while Enlil was more of a ruler and an architect. Enlil created a place called Eden, which was an outdoor laboratory with strict access control. Enki, on the other hand, had a level of empathy, as I said, for humans, and even married a human, had a child with her. And this was funny when they had cloned Eve from Adam, that outside laboratory, the Garden of Eden, they actually had timed. It was timed, how do you like timed sex, I guess you would say. Like it's like, okay, it's time. And then they would go out, they would frolic amongst each other, and then okay, it's time to come back in. So everything was timed perfectly. And again, this is all on ancient texts. How can you go against that when it's written? If the Bible was written and people along have, believed it, why can't we believe the ancient text has something to do with it as well?
Did he mention I can't remember. Did he mention whether or not the ancient texts were written before the Bible, or was it all around the same time? I'm assuming way
No,
before.
way before the Bible, way before the Bible. Yep. Because the Marian tablets are known as like the most ancient, but there were ones before that, which are these ones.
See, right there, it doesn't add up to me. I don't know. I mean, I don't
Exactly.
wanna refute the Holy Bible and all because I do think there's a lot of good messages in there, but I've also at the same time always felt that there have been some pretty wild things in there as well. If
Mhm.
you've I mean, I'm sure you've studied it, but like I went to scripture classes for most of my like early
Mhm.
childhood and high school education.
I
And
had
like,
daily devotional Wednesdays.
right. And it's like when you get into it to that level of like when you're studying it as if it's a class, because like I literally had to take scripture classes to graduate. I had to pass those. Which is
Wow,
fine. And then when
okay.
I was in college, I went and did like world religions class and got even more exposed, not just to Christianity, but to like all of the world's religions, which I really enjoyed. But when you are studying the Bible to that level of degree, or any religious text for that matter, you see it for all of its good messages as well as all of its bad messages. And there's some
Mhm.
messages in there that are, pretty shocking, and obviously was written thousands and thousands of years ago, and it was a very
Right.
different time. But I just think it goes to show like the Bible in and of itself is a story that shows how flawed men can be, or not just men, but humanity in and of itself. And I think
Humanity,
maybe
yep.
maybe that was the message like the creator, whoever he may be, was trying to get across, perhaps. I don't know,
Mhm.
but that's how I've always seen it.
And I agree with you. I'm not saying that's why before I started talking about it, I'm not saying that I believe it 100%, or that I'm saying everything that I learned or was taught was a lie or anything like that. I'm looking at other things too. I'm studying
Exactly.
and I would like you and I to do like an episode or two on this and get a little bit deeper in it because I think it's an amazing topic and
Yeah.
it's an ancient alien civilization, which brings something that I had put on um the on one of on my on our site on Instagram or something. I had made a little short video about the Easter Island that had been burned
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
So see, someone's trying to erase history because people are coming out and saying that no, there were people a long time ago here and they came from space and they ruled the world and there's Texas to prove it and they're starting to try to burn history. What normal person on a regular day could take a boat to Easter Island with the most craziest chemicals on earth and a lot of it too, by the way, haul them across sea without getting stopped anywhere, haul them up onto the island, take them to each huge statue, pour it over the statue, and light it on fire. Someone pretty high up had to do that. And it just
Was that
seems
done on
like
purpose? That wasn't like an accidental fire?
no, it was a chemical that was put on that actually could melt
Oh.
stone.
Oh god. Okay.
No,
I
this
didn't know
wasn't
that.
accidental. This was arson. And more, the ancient civilization talk is coming out. Like, haven't you ever wondered when you look at an Egyptian pyramid how they were able to grab 50-ton rock from where and put it where the pyramids
From
are
where?
and put it all like well, I mean, how would they carry 50 tons of rock? You'd have to go to a
Right.
quarry to get it, to chip it out, to haul it, and there was no water around there, and
Mhm.
then build a pyramid as big as it is, and then the lines
That's
and everything are cut just beautifully.
right. That, and it's still standing to this day. I just love how you're like, "Where did you get this rock from?" It doesn't make
Well,
sense.
it doesn't make sense. And I watched Billy Carson say that apparently this is also what they're finding out is that how sound can do a lot more than what we think. There is a certain sound wave that one note, that one area that could have possibly lifted the stones because it made a vibration. They played a tune. It was a
Ooh.
tune that they made from their saucer, from whoever they were, and it was able to vibrate it enough for them to be able to move it into place because I'm sure you remember seeing about the gentleman in Florida 50, 60 years ago that made a little garden for the woman that he loved. And the same
Mm.
thing. There are huge stones that man, and they were taking pictures of him when he was doing it. And he said he had a box that
I
he
don't know the
opened up
story.
and it would, oh my gosh, you have to look that up. You
I'll
have
look
to
into
look that
it.
up
I'll look into it. We'll circle back. But
because it
just to
is
kind
just
of
a regular man. And same thing. They were like, how did you move these 20-ton rocks? And he said, I have a box. And I'm not going to tell you what's in the box.
oh, that's ominous.
Crazy. Crazy
But
because I think vibration, sound waves do a lot more than we think.
yeah, I can see that. And anyways, I just to go back to what I was saying before, I'm not saying that everything in the Bible is bad. I feel like I did like a bad, job explaining that. I think there's
No,
a lot of good in there. I think there's a lot more good than there is bad, but there's sprinkles of things that I think really show hopefully how far we've come as as a species and a society. But the video that like the Billy Carson video is just kind of mind-boggling to watch at length. So I don't know. I just think it was kind of cool, but
the one thing that stood out to me is this part where the slavery and the violence in the Bible.
exactly.
So the Bible is often seen as a source of moral guidance, but it also contains passages that condone slavery, violence, and rape. These passages have been used to justify horrific acts throughout history. In the Bible, there are instances where entire towns were ordered to be destroyed, including women and children. There are laws that permit the rape of women, the killing of non believers, and the enslavement of foreigners. These passages contradict the attributes of an all loving and all powerful God that are often associated with the Bible. It is important to critically examine these teachings and question their origins. And that is all that I am doing with this segment is I'm studying. That's all. Like I said, my
Right.
grandparents, God rest their soul, very diehard Catholics, very
Mhm.
enwrapped, enthralled in the church. Never
Yeah.
would I say that I do not believe anything in the Bible. But when Billy started out the video, you remember him saying, so I want you to listen to these attributes, all loving and all wisdom and all this and all that. But yet God was going around and saying, oh, you can have this town. I want you can kill all the non-believers and you can go ahead and take women and rape them. And then if you want, you can make them your wives too. I mean, it just the way that he put it, it was like a smack in my face. Like,
The other
wow.
thing too,
So why was that
kinda
allowed?
the other thing that I think really just strikes me too about, like, the way he set it up is
Yeah.
like, how do I put this? He was saying he believes in an all-loving creator, just as we are saying, and I think what he was kinda getting at there is the idea that, like, maybe those, like, gods that came beforehand are not that all-loving creator that we were taught about, that we all believe in. Or not, I guess
Right.
maybe not all of us, but a good portion of
Right.
society and the world do believe in that sort of a higher power, and that's great. But I think what he's getting at is the gods that we spoke about earlier on in the segment are not the same, which is interesting too.
Right. And the other thing too, which I'm sure you remember, he said, we are the all loving. It's in us. We were created. If God created light, then we are his creation. It's us. It's light. We are part of that. It's in us. We don't need anyone exactly to be the head of it. We're the head of it because it's in us. We're the creation. Now, in the agnostic perspective, so the Gnostics, which was an ancient spiritual movement, had a different view of the divine. They believed that every human being contains a spark of the divine within themselves. They saw the physical world as a where this spark of divinity has fallen, and the goal of life is to awaken to one's true nature and reunite with the divine source. They understood that the material world is subject to decay and suffering, and that true salvation comes within through self realization and inner transformation. And that part I do believe because, um, long story short, I'm a recovering addict. I've been sober now for 3, 4 years. But guess who did it? Me.
You did. And congratulations on that.
No
That's
one else.
awesome.
I'm very proud of myself. And I'm not
You
saying
should
though
be.
that I didn't think that God gave me 50 million chances to get it right because he did. He did. And but I also do believe that you have to meet someone, whoever it is, you have to meet someone halfway. You're the one that creates your life. Just like everyone says how you manifest positivity. If Jake is always the type where no matter how hard he studies, he'll be like, "Oh, I'm not going to get 100." And I'm like, "You have to manifest that you will." And guess what? When I remind him that every morning before he goes to school, when he takes that test, it's, "Hey babe, I got a 99, I got 100," because you're in charge of your own life. And that's I also bring this up because of how our world has been, how our country has been the past 3 years, all the victim mentality, from every walk of life. And we are all in charge of our own life. I grew up with a mother that was abusive until I was 18 and was kicked out of the house.
Mhm.
And so, I came from my parents were very well off, but me personally, came from nothing because at 18, what do you have? You have your high school diploma,
Literally
and that's
nothing.
about it. Nothing.
Yeah. Literally nothing.
So I had to
Except
make my way.
right.
You know what I mean? But I could have, if I didn't try and put that 100% in, yeah, I could have just sat there and been like, "Oh, woe is me. I was kicked out of my parents' house and I don't have anywhere to go. And I guess I can't go to college. And I guess I can't go get this job." So it's in you. And if you believe in God, whether you do or you don't, you are part of light, if anything.
Mhm.
So you are an unbelievable creation. So guess what? You can do anything.
Right. And I think that goes off the idea of like I know there's some differing opinions when it comes to free will, but there's the
Of
one
course.
interpretation where it's God gave us free will and turned a blind eye and no longer really pays attention to what's going on down here. And that's kind of what you're
Mhm.
reminding me of now. Whether or not that's true, obviously, who's to say? We'll find out, in the next life or whatever comes after this. But that the way you're describing it really reminds me of that idea of free will, where it's like you take charge of that. You can believe in God,
Yeah.
but still at the same time, you have to take charge of your own life.
And don't get me wrong, it took me a lot of chances.
Mhm.
I got it wrong a lot of times. I was homeless. I was on the street. I was nothing. I was sneaking into McDonald's to get a Coca-Cola because I would be so thirsty. But that I put that on myself though. I did all of that myself. But if I could get myself into it, then guess what? That means I can get myself out of it. So I didn't do a rehab. I was the rehab. I did it. I did it. I just faced it, my demons, and just said, okay, here we go. And I've never turned back since. And I'm very proud of myself that I'm even still here, especially in a country where, 100,000 people are dying of fentanyl overdoses every day. Even
Mhm.
kids that are 14, 15 that are just going to a party and trying a Xanax. They're not drug users. It's just, oh, we're at a party. You know, let's
Right.
let's try this. And it's that one pill and their whole life is taken away. Granted, I had 3 times where I almost didn't wake up, but that's what I'm saying is that I had a couple chances to get it right. And yeah, I wasn't going to stay in that slave. I was a victim to had the victim mentality of, woe is me, I'm a drug addict.
Mhm.
Oh. And it's like, well, no one cares because really no one does. And you can see that now by what's happening in our country with people that we don't even know that are getting housed and put up in healthcare and all this. But yet we have Americans that are dying every day on the street, homeless and drug addicts, and no one is taking them in their house. So,
Mm.
I just find that weird. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, so the misinterpretation of scripture, it's the true message of spirituality enlightenment has been overshadowed by the desire for power and control. And it's important to approach religious texts with an open mind and critical thinking, which is just what
What
I'm
we do.
doing now with this subject. Yep.
Mhm.
And if you follow us, whether you're listening to a paranormal story of ours or like a true crime, we're just going to put out what we got from the story, and then we're going to talk about it. Courtney and I sometimes have different opinions and ways of looking at things, but in the end, we both respect each other for it, and I think that's the
Exactly.
beauty of our relationship. So,
Right.
anything you
And
want to
this,
add to this, though?
I think honestly, you ended it beautifully. I just think this topic is so it's like it's just so interesting to talk about and think about. And I think our, the different approaches that we have to it, they are different, I will say, but we come to this idea of like we still need to be living our lives in the sense of
Right.
thinking critically. And I don't want to say be skeptical with everything, but you
No,
know,
no.
I guess question what it is that you're receiving from these things and interpret it in a way that makes sense to your life and to your morals. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think you ended it perfectly though with that.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, I
Yeah.
just I like I said, I do want to continue speaking and kind of diving in because I will say one thing to end this segment. The world, well, I should say, let me put that in better perspective. Our country has lost religion. I do feel that way. I've never lived in such a negative where I can see it and feel it. You know what I mean? I 20 years ago, kids were sitting at the table with their families. Religion kind of brought together, even if it wasn't strong religion in the house, that respect, that family orientation, that's gone. A lot of it's gone, I feel.
Dude,
You
I
feel
feel like that is the exact opposite of how I feel, I'm not gonna lie. I get what you're
really?
saying. I get what you're saying, but I honestly feel like we're going through a resurgence of like spiritual practices and religious like beliefs. Like I think that I've been thinking about this internally a lot, and this is kind of possibly a bold claim to make, but like I think we're going through a second wave of spiritualism here in the United States specifically, and maybe around the world, but I don't know. I just recently, as I've continued going down this path and researching, different, spiritual stories. Obviously, when you're researching the paranormal, there's religion that comes at play. And it seems like
Mhm.
this field per se is getting a lot more popular. And I think that has to do with religion. I'm not going to lie.
I have just looked at all the different celebrities that
Yeah.
have come out and been wearing red. And, like Little Nas X, who is, doing nefarious acts with Satan on a stage. And then you have Sam Smith with his song Unholy, and he's all in red and black and sticking out his tongue and has devil horns. And then even the Super Bowl halftime show, even though I loved Usher, what's with everybody wearing red? Everybody's wearing red these days. Plus, this is the most corrupt government that I think I've ever experienced in my lifetime. See that power and control? I thought it was one nation under God. I don't feel like there's anybody helping us American citizens anymore. I think the government has been turned into a one party. There's no Dems and Republicans. It's Republicans that'll go like this to say what we need to change, and then it never gets changed. And then the Democrats that they have their way no matter what. It's all money and power. So that's where I think a lot of the togetherness and the division that's brought. And but I do see what you're saying, because it also could be maybe a spiritual warfare going on where people are finding their place. But why is it that this is the most corrupt we've ever heard a government using the three-letter agencies to SWAT team a Catholic family on Christmas Day? It's just weird to me that people would do that. The FBI has been, that report came out. The FBI, the Hunter laptop thing was suppressed for a reason. It wasn't Russian disinformation. Jeffrey Epstein papers are coming out and having a whole list of celebrities and people that were there with on his island, and it's just there's things starting to come out in the woodwork, and it just seems very divisive and it seems very negative. There's 83,000 children that came across the border that we don't know where they are, but a lot of kids being found in slaughterhouses working midnight shifts and being paid nothing. And drug cartels, human trafficking coming in. Why would Joe Biden leave a border completely open so cartels and people with bracelets saying how much they own cartels? Why would he have that open? Is there something he's getting out of it? Because it just seems awfully weird that now there's Jahids coming over. There's Sudan. There's Honduras, Ecuador. I thought it was just Mexico. All of a sudden now we're bringing in all these migrants. And the one that, really bothered me was the one that on camera to a journalist, he was of like a Muslim orientation, I guess you want to say ethnicity, was like, you don't know my name right now, but soon you will know my name. What are they all coming here for? It's just very weird to me. And then you're seeing all these people, all these sanctuary states that now what they voted for, they can't handle anymore. Chicago's out of money. Boston's out of money. Massachusetts governor is actually asking people to open up their home and house migrants. New York cops are getting beat up by migrants. They get released out of jail and flip off New York like this. You're coming to a country that you want the American dream, and you come here and beat cops up and then walk out without getting any charges. And they found them because they booked it to Arizona. They were going to go to California. But yeah, the two of the guys that were arrested had a rap sheet like this long. Horrible people. I'm not saying everyone is like that, but I think we need to take care of our Americans first. Our veterans that are paraplegics and out on the streets with no homes and wanting to kill themselves because they would rather die than live on the street and not have access to care, because how are they going to get to VA? VA is very strict. When you have an appointment, you get there. If you don't get there, they won't see you again. It's just a
Really?
lot of things. Yeah.
They're that strict?
And let me tell you how much veterans are really treated like shit. A lot of them, what you don't know, VA actually gets them hooked on drugs. So then they can just not worry about them anymore. Trust me. I have experienced that with that. I'll just say that.
Oh God. Okay.
So it's amazing what the people that fought for our country are being treated. But now we have people that haven't done a damn thing getting a total of $9,000 prepaid cards. Just because, well, maybe our Americans on the street want the American dream too. Because, they lost their legs and everything in Vietnam and the Gulf War. I mean, I don't know. I would be saying that. But I'm just, I look at when 20 years ago I lived in this country and it was beautiful and I felt safe. This is the first time ever in my life that I don't feel safe. Jake just brought an AK-47 home yesterday because we do not feel safe. We see everything that's going on, do not feel safe at all. And it's terrible. It's terrible. But like I said, closing that up, Americans should come first. I mean, don't you feel that homelessness is the worst it's been in 40 years, and we're going to take 6
I mean, yeah,
million
homelessness
people?
has been pretty bad, and I do agree with what you're saying too. It's the with the sense of feeling fearful. I think that most Americans, both sides of the aisle, regardless of what you identify, are fearful of kind of, I hate to say one another, but just with the way that the world has been recently. And that's,
Right. You just don't know.
right, exactly.
You just don't know. It's just a scary time. And I remember just living in the 80s and 90s where just things just seemed simpler. Things were simpler. I think the internet screwed everything up. Honestly, the internet, social media.
Yeah,
It's
social
just,
media is a cancer on society, but that's a
yeah,
topic for another
that's a
day.
topic for another day. I was just going to say. So, what we're going to get into now, sorry, sometimes I do find myself having to go on a ramble. And it's just because, again, I am so scared to live in this country anymore. I mean, we've even thought about moving out of the US because it just things are just
You're not the only one. And that too, I think is again, that's has nothing to do with, personal politics, because I think that we all at our core care for one another. But
Mhm.
and I do see what you mean. Like there are a ton of people who are thinking about leaving. So I get where you're coming from
Do
for
you
sure.
know what I just heard yesterday? Canada is trying to pass where they're going to let mentally ill people make the decision to have assisted suicide.
Wow.
So that just goes to
Okay.
show how our world has become that Canada has government health care, right? But what's one of the biggest things that are growing in our world these days? Mental illness. That's an expensive thing. You have to go through psychiatrists, all the medications, all of that. That like do you not see anything wrong with that? That if someone that walked in your office that for the past 2 years you've been saying you can do this, you got everything to fight for, you got this. Now if someone goes, I think I don't want to be here anymore. Okay, it just let's get that paperwork done for you. Your mom's middle name? I mean, that's how easy they want it to be. And that's how fucked up this world is because the government does not care about its people anymore. Justin Trudeau, Biden, anybody. Just the government as a whole, not Republican, not Democrat.
Mhm.
I'm not sticking up for either one. As a whole, no one is fighting for their citizens anymore. The government, they want that money. They don't want it to be spent on mental patients. Why would they? If you come into a psychiatrist's office and you say 6 times in 1 year you want to kill yourself, why don't you just do it then? That's disgusting. And I can't believe, I hope it doesn't go through. I really hope it doesn't go through. But if he was able to close truckers' accounts during when they didn't get their COVID vax, I guess maybe he's able to do anything.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
he actually was able to restrict people from their bank account.
I just think that
That's
I
scary
don't know,
that
that
he would do that.
that's just I guess too, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. That's just a lot of information to take
It's
in, I
just
guess.
scary. Yeah, I just saw that yesterday. It was pretty scary. Now on to the part where it's haunted Hawaii. And again, sorry we got off on a tangent there. I did, not Courtney, me. Because I'm just a passionate person about living safe and I love my country and I love America and I love my life. But we are going to talk about haunted Hawaii. So, just first thoughts, do you, right off the bat, who's one or two things that you know of that are paranormal or urban legends in Hawaii?
The only one that I really know about that I'm excited to talk about are the night marchers. I
Yes,
heard
the
obviously
night.
the what is it? What is the name of that show? Everyone knows it, and everyone's probably like screaming at me in their earphones. Oh, Radio Rental covered like a personal story from this of like the night marchers and stuff, and that was the first time I had heard of it, and it blew my mind. But other than that, to be honest, and it's shameful, I don't really know much about haunted Hawaii. So
Well, I didn't know much either. I only really knew about the night marchers because of That one was on a couple paranormal investigation shows, protect the land. And one of the most there
Looks like Farah
century.
is. Did you come back? You like left the studio for a second.
Oh, I'm back. Hi. So
That
these
was scary.
spirits also these spirits, also known as AO or OIO, have been haunting the islands for centuries. The night marchers are often described as a line of fire ants marching down the mountain. So that's really how you can see them from like an aerial view is their tiki torches all coming down like in a straight line. They're beating drums. There were some of them. So it's very interesting. And these have actually been caught on camera before. Like the tiki torches part in the jungle,
Oh,
Ghost
I didn't
Hunters
know
was
that.
able to capture that. Plus,
Cool.
I do have, yes, and I do have a picture that Courtney had showed me, which I'm going to pull up real quick. Let me share my screen and see if everybody can see this. I don't know how
Cool.
well you will be able
And
to,
just a PSA, guys, this is when we start to lag. So if our conversation is off, that's why.
but yeah, yeah, exactly. Why isn't it able to share? Oh, here we go. Where's my pictures? Right there. Share. Okay. So live stream. Okay. So where's that picture? Here it is. Give it a
It's so creepy.
second to load up. Courtney, you'll know this
Oh,
picture. This
we're
is the
lagging
one
a little.
that you had showed me the video of it on where the
Yeah.
okay. Can you see it, Courtney?
It's loading. It's loading. There's a little bit of a lag. So I'm wondering if maybe it's having trouble pulling up
Okay.
for me.
I got it on my end, so I'm just waiting
Okay,
for
it
it to
might
go on
just be
your end.
because of the lag in between us. I know what this picture is, so if you can see it, I would go ahead and talk about it. As long as the listeners can see it too.
Okay. So if anybody, yeah, let me see if they can. Is it up
I
on the
don't see it up
screen?
on my screen.
Hang on. Hang on. I have to pull it back up again. Okay. There. Okay. It should be up. So
Okay.
hopefully, if not, you know that I'll go ahead and post it in our show notes for this. But there was actually a Hawaiian night marcher that was captured by a lady who went on a hike in Hawaii. And it's a pretty
No, she
interesting
was on a run.
photo.
She was on they
Oh,
were
run.
doing
Okay.
a race around the island, and she was like, I
Mhm.
can't remember if someone behind her took the picture or if she was actually the one holding the camera, but she was in that race. And she caught this woman on a live photo, or not a woman, but this like spirit on a live photo. And it's like
Here we go. I
moving
got
and
it.
it's
I'm
like
pulling it up.
gray. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Do you see it now?
Yeah.
There it is. So look at this thing. It is creepy. And you cannot tell me that that looks like a real, like a human being, like a normal
No,
person. It's like
absolutely
all
not.
distorted like a gray. And look at the face up close. Ooh,
It's
it's
if you
freaky.
guys want to go and see the actual the live photo of it, let me pull up. Obviously, I think the live image is copyrighted, so you'll have to go directly to Radio Rental's account. But it's on their Instagram. If you go to @Radio Rental, you'll have to. Oh, it's at the very top of their page. Actually, it's like the third image
Oh,
on
good.
there. You can see the live video of her moving, like
Oh,
the runner's moving and the spirit's like moving aside, like beside her, and like she has no idea. And that to me is
just
terrifying.
just the picture is just it's worth 1,000 words of fucking scary to me because that is probably the most clearest picture I've ever seen of an apparition, like the detail, everything. But in Hawaiian mythology, night marchers or spirit ranks are the deadly ghost of ancient tribal Hawaiian warriors. The night marchers are the vanguard for a sacred king, chief, or chiefness. On the nights honoring the Hawaiian gods Kane, Ko, or Leno, or on the nights of Kanaloa, they are said to come forth from their burial sites or to rise up from the ocean. And let me take this down too so I can make sure I'm not lagging. Rise up from the ocean and to march in a large group to ancient Hawaiian battle sites or other sacred places. The legend says the night marchers are normal sized warriors dressed for battle, carrying spears, clubs, and some are beating war drums and blowing tombs from conch shells and to announce the advancing of their march. According to the myth, they are suspended in air. Their feet do not touch water or ground as they traverse through the night, and they leave no evidence of their visitation, which I just find crazy. They march in darkness after sunset and march as a group continuously until just before sunrise. Anyone living along their path may hear chanting, sounds of blown conch shell tones, and marching noises in the night. The following signs are a foul and musky, death like odor, which is weird because normally I associate negative demonic entities with a stench. So that's
Same.
kind of weird. And torches getting brighter and brighter as the night marchers get closer. They might appear during the day if they are to escort a dying relative to the spirit world. So I'm wondering if that picture I showed is someone that was around for someone's death to be taken to the
Yeah,
spirit world.
maybe. I
Um,
also remember too, it was like on the, because obviously that was happening in like the day, but I think I
mhm.
want to say, or maybe not. I know that she was like running overnight, if I remember correctly, but it
Ooh,
had to do with like the full moon. Like there was like a super moon or something like that. Go listen to the radio rental episode because I'm butchering the story, but it is chilling. I have like no other words for it. Honestly, it's just kind of gross when you
I
think about
love
it.
I
Oh,
love
scares me.
watching any paranormal investigation, and it seemed like whoever caught that picture did a damn good job, and I don't think it
She
was
didn't
doctored
even
any
mean
way
to.
either.
She didn't mean to.
Exactly,
She just caught it,
exactly.
like, randomly. I think she was on her, like, last lap, and she's about to give up, and she was like, "No, I came here for a reason, I'm gonna finish this race," and, like, was like, taking pictures and just happened to catch, like,
And
whatever
there's
that
some
was on
people that
camera.
freaking wait their whole life to catch a great picture of an apparition on a paranormal ghost hunt, and she was able to catch, like, one of the
We
great ones I've ever seen.
we would have been so thrilled if that were us, and she didn't even, like, mean to, she just stumbled upon it,
Oh my
whereas you
god,
and I would have
yes.
been like, "What did we just find?"
We would have been talking about it for a year. Um, Ancient Hawaiian beliefs state that any mortal looking upon or being seen in defiance toward the marchers will die violently. Barriers placed in the path of night marchers will not deter them. Some people maintain that if the mortal lies motionless, face down on the ground, they are showing proper respect, fear, and deference to the night marchers, they will be spared, which is quite interesting. Additionally, mortals can avoid harm or death from night marchers by being fortunate to have an ancient ancestor marcher present to recognize them. As they encounter the mortal, they will call out Nau, which means mine in Hawaiian. No one in the warrior procession will harm them. So I find that interesting that you can actually um, either die or be saved by showing your weakness, I want to say, as a mortal, but respect in the same
Right,
line.
because these are
It's
very,
like
like,
you literally have to
protective
get down.
these are, like, protective entities too. So and
Yes,
I mean,
very.
I think that is, like, the main thing that comes across to me is, like, show them respect for that and they'll treat you with the same respect. You know what I mean?
Right, right. In any form of spirit, and I always say this when I watch paranormal investigation shows on YouTube, different groups, always just have respect because we're going to be one of those people one day, and I don't want somebody coming in 20 hours a day going, "Will you touch that REM pod over there?" to just drive me nuts.
Right. And like
But
that's kind of the premise of like the whole last episode I did on haunts. It's like these are real people.
right.
They're
They
like the
had a real
same as
life.
us. Exactly. So,
They
I
had a
mean,
family. They fought in a war. They flew planes. They owned a store. They did so much for our country. I mean, anything. You got to think these people were part of the founding of our country, our world. So they should be respected, like
mhm.
Abigail. Like
Like
Abigail.
Abigail. Oh, I think
I
she
love
might be our
Abigail.
favorite ghost.
I want to go there to be able to talk to
I
her.
do
And we're
too.
talking about Abigail in the Conjuring House. But
Mhm.
anyway, to try to get through some of this, because we are running out of time, the ceremony and conduct of the march are customized to the taste of its honored warrior leader. A Hawaiian king or chief is known to be fond of music, would be honored with much drumming and chanting. If the king or chief enjoyed peace and quiet, the march would be as silent as possible. Further, if the king or chief did not like to walk around much, he would be carried in a sling by the warriors. In ancient Hawaiian lore, the laws declared body parts of a king or chief to be sacred and not to be seen by a mortal. The punishment for looking at these parts is always instant death, usually by bolts of intense light and flaming heat originating from several of the warriors' eyes aimed
What?
toward the mortal, right?
Holy
Crazy.
crap. Okay.
The
That got
violating mortal is incinerated instantly, and the bodily remains dissipate as vapors.
oh my god. That got
Did you hear
that
that part?
went from 0 to 60
Yep.
so fast. No, I hadn't heard that before. Like I have a very limited understanding of this legend and it's literally just from that radio rental podcast episode.
These things are, but I
Ah,
do believe, I don't know why I think like ancient deities or ancient spirits will have more power because we don't know what was back then. Just like how we were talking earlier about the ancient civilizations. Anu ruled the entire cosmos and universe, and then his son rolled Earth, and there were different planets that they would roll. We have no idea what was before us and what kind of power that they had. So I always think of ancient spirits or gods like this to be, very strong and like a power and a faith. And I guess they can incinerate us humans, so which is quite crazy. Um
it's literally so
so
intense, but
Curious minds often inquire, who are the night marchers? The ominous tales of these feared entities have endured the test of time, transitioning from oral traditions to the realms of written documentation. Their stories have withstood the influence of missionaries in diverse cultures, permeating the air through secretive late night storytelling sessions and leaving an indelible mark to both Hawaiians and non Hawaiians from various walks of life. The night marchers command our attention. Their deeds recounted in both private and public settings, yet the burning question persists: who are the night marchers? And then a couple other little urban legends from Hawaii, if you will. So there is actually a stretch of road called Haunted Highway H3. Have you ever heard about this?
no, but I'm excited.
Well, so as we make our way up H3 on a dark night, the haunted reputation of this highway looms over us. We can still feel the lingering presence of the ball of light that startled us earlier. The air is heavy with an unsettling scent reminiscent of death. I find that just
Why does
so is it
everything
just Hawaii? Is it just Hawaii?
I mean, I'm sure that with like the volcanic activity there, there's probably some sulfuric smells here and there, just like
Hmm.
like logically speaking. But it's interesting that they're these legends are associated with that smell as well.
Right. It
Because you think
just
it would be, or like from my own personal experience, like Yellowstone obviously isn't very far from here. We have a lot of volcanic activity. We have a lot of, they call them paint pots, but it's basically like molten sulfur,
oh
like,
yeah,
and
right,
it
right.
smells, but it's not like it's just going to come and go, and so like it's always going to be in that isolated in that one area because of the geothermic, however you call like the activity there.
Mhm.
So if it's never just in one specific spot, I'd have trouble saying that that is the root cause. But if it is like only in this certain patch of that highway, then maybe that could be a possible explanation. Just like coming at it
Y-
from a logical perspective.
You mentioned Yellowstone. Like, is there any does that have any paranormal activity out there?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You should do for one of our episodes, you should cover Yellowstone because I personally have
There's
never heard of
too
Yellowstone being haunted.
there's too much paranormal activity. Sorry, Todd's coughing if you can hear that, but there's too much paranormal activity going on in that park to fit into one episode. I did one ghost story at one location on haunts, like literally one spirit, and it took up a 20-minute episode.
Well,
So
then we'll
we'll
do
dive into it.
yeah, we'll do like a session like a part 1, part 2 and split it
Yeah,
then. You look at some and I'll look at some. Oh wow,
that sounds
that's
good.
crazy. I've never heard of that.
It's
Okay,
so
so
haunted.
stories of unintended deaths and mysterious encounters plague this area. Perhaps it's the proximity to the pulley or the tales we've heard while coming up the grapevine. Regardless, we brace ourselves for the unknown as we continue our ascent. Now, I will have to describe to you because I don't want to bring up the picture. It seems to lag every time. So, H3 is this stretch of highway in the jungle, and it is terrifying.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm
I was
talking
thinking,
it's
uh,
it's like on the side of the mountain, but it's like jungle parts too.
okay. So is it like
And
scary on the side of a mountain? Because that's what I was picturing.
yes,
Oh
yes.
god,
And there's
okay.
places where it gets dark and oh my gosh, I like I said, I have pictures of it. What I'll do is I'll just attach it to the downloaded episodes of this so you can all see. We'll put it on our website, studiosessions.blog. We always do like put like a deep dive for the current episode, pictures, visual aids, audio stuff. So just kind of check there within the next day or two. But H3 is not without its controversies. The construction and development of this highway have disrupted sacred Hawaiian sites and unearthed burial areas. Now, what do you and I
No.
know about
No.
places? I know because first thing that what I thought was the Lake Georgia, the Lake
Oh,
Lanier.
Lake Lanier. Yeah,
When you
that
mess
place
with
is
something, when you build over something, you flood something. In that case of Lake Lanier,
mhm.
you're going to get some feedback from the spirits. And the fact that they dug up burial areas, first of all, in
To
Hawaii,
me
why would you want to do that?
to me, what really bothers me is the fact that they are disturbing sacred sites. That is, like, a
Right.
huge, like, strikes a nerve with me, like, that makes me, like, unspeakably angry when people do that. Same thing, like,
Mhm.
desecrating grave sites, same thing with, like, Lanier. Like, that whole story in and of itself is, like, mind-boggling to me for so many reasons.
Yep.
Um, Anyways, not to go off on another tangent, but the fact that you are going into a sacred place, in a place that, like, the state of Hawaii too, it's held so sacred to, like, the native peoples there, that
Right. Why
the
would you
fact that
do
you're
that?
building a highway through it is, number 1, so disrespectful, but number 2, like, you're asking for trouble.
I
You
mean, is
literally
their
are.
tourist industry that much of a lifeline for them that they would have to have done that? It just to me, it just seems like something I wouldn't want to risk because that does have so much ancient history there.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, with the tourism industry too, like, it there that in and of itself is kind of not good. I don't know how else to put that,
Right.
the native Hawaiians do not, I don't wanna say that they don't want it, because 'cause I'm sure, they are not gonna be mean to people who come there, but, like,
Oh, of course. Yeah, right.
We're taking, like, the tourism industry is really taking advantage of something that they hold so near and dear, and that's a shame. It really is.
And that's why I would go to Hawaii, to see that culture and go and
Mhm.
see the sites and the burial and pay respects to this beautiful land, this beautiful mountain, this beautiful sea that they lived off of. It just seems like that's if it's a place that that's what it's known for, why do you take from that? I guess is
Right.
my
Right,
question.
and it's a shame. But anyways, continue.
Yes. And now also there are the journey through H3 is filled with two ominous tunnels. The darkness, and I'm writing this as we're pretending that we're there. So the darkness engulfs us, and the only source of light is the faint glow from our camera phone. Beyond the reach of our headlights, darkness looms, creating an atmosphere of unease. We peer out the window, trying to catch a glimpse of anything unusual. It's as if we've entered another realm altogether. And guess what is also known out there? Major UFO sightings.
I am not surprised at all.
Yep. It is a huge hot spot for not only ghostly encounters of ancient spirits, but also for UFO sightings. During the construction of this highway, many reported seeing orange lights in the shape of dinner plates hovering in the sky. The presence of extraterrestrial activity adds another layer of intrigue to this already haunted road. Then there's a place on H3 called Entering Halawa Valley. So it's Halawa Valley. As we emerge from the second tunnel, we find ourselves in the heart of Halawa Valley, where the paranormal activity is said to intensify. The caretaker of a nearby sacred location is says that there's a lot of spiritual significance of this area. But again, it has to do with once you see how big this highway is, Courtney, you're not even, you think you're mad now. Wait till you see how big this is and how much land it's taken, and then just think back all the people that live there and all the
Right.
places that were in history. It's sad.
Exactly.
Even in the daytime, people are said to see ghosts in white fly across the road, and people think that they've hit something. But of course, they don't feel anything in the car, but it's so real to them, but they go right through it. It's very crazy. So that's H3, a little bit of H3.
Can I
And then
ask
uh-huh,
what island is that on?
Honolulu.
Okay. Does it, like,
Honolulu.
go across the whole thing?
I don't know. I'm not sure if it goes across. All I saw pictures of it was the huge side of a mountain, and then that came back around. But this is supposed to be all of these that I'm finding of these urban legends come from Honolulu. So the
I'm
legend
gonna
of
I'm looking it up now. Sorry, I'm just so curious. In Hawaii.
it is just sad to see. It's sad
I
to see.
mean, oh god, okay, so it's 15.32 miles, and it
Mhm.
is long.
Right? And look how
Wow.
much area just Hawaii is where people live in the jungles and around. I mean, that's just taking up a lot of their ancient land. I mean, I would love to live in Hawaii one day. When I retire, I'd love to live there.
I
Love it.
couldn't. It's too warm there. I am a
Yeah.
winter person
You
through and through.
really?
Yeah, why do you think I live here? Oh my god, it's winter all the time
I
here.
just thought you liked Montana because it is beautiful. I've seen pictures of it.
Oh, I mean, I love Montana, but I one of the reasons why I love it is because I love winter and snow and being cold and going skiing.
I will have to say the older I've gotten, the less that I like summer. It's too hot. That's why we did move from Florida to Tennessee mainly is because it was just too flippin' hot there.
Like,
Um,
yeah, I couldn't imagine, but
let's wrap this up. So I have the legend of Hawaii Aloha. So according to the legend of Hawaii Aloha, there was once a mythical fisherman and navigator who discovered the Hawaiian Islands. His name was Hawaii Loa. So it's Loa, and he became famous for his long and dangerous fishing expeditions. He and his crew stumbled upon a large island, which they named Hawaii in his honor. Hawaii Aloha settled on the islands with his family, including his eldest son, Maui, his younger son, Kauai, and his daughter, what would it be? Oahu. It is believed that their descendants went on to populate the islands of Hawaii. So, did you ever know that the Hawaii Islands
No,
got their
but
name from
like that reminds me of Moana, which is I love that movie.
Oh, give me the name.
Moana.
Oh, well, I was thinking of a different Disney movie.
Oh, Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah,
Is that
I
yeah.
like I like
I mean,
Lilo and
I
Stitch.
do too. But Moana, like I don't I really like both of them for very different reasons. But the
I
reason why
haven't
this
seen that
reminds me,
one.
go and watch it. It's magical. But like when what strikes me as like familiar with this is that Maui, the demigod is in it. And I'm
Okay,
assuming that would be the same like from the same line of folklore.
okay.
So
The
go and watch it. It's a
demigod.
good movie. Yeah,
I will. I'll watch it on Friday when I have off. That'll
do
be
it.
my. Is it a Disney movie?
Yeah, I want to say it's Pixar, but don't quote me on that.
Oh, okay. And now there's one called the Haunted Water Pumping Station. So, in the Key Palama district of Honolulu, there is a water pumping station that is rumored to be haunted. The station was constructed in the late 1800s to provide fresh water to the growing population of Honolulu. During its construction, workers discovered a group of skeletons, indicating that the area
Oh,
had once been a burial ground. Like you don't check this shit first.
you think you especially like
Mm.
they're pumping drinking water from a place that has
Ooh.
human remains. You should really check for that. I mean, like you should check for a
Ooh.
whole lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
Obviously, this gets me really heated for like just you shouldn't disturb sacred areas and final resting places, but like, oh my god, is that where water like that we drink is coming from?
Do you know what that just reminded me of? Let me see if you and I are really connected in a way I
Okay.
think we are. If you just said they should really check drinking water because I said there were skeletons that were found in here. What's a story that you remember about people drinking water and someone was dead in it?
Oh my god, we are talking about that in a few weeks. It's the Eliza Lamb story.
Yep,
And the other thing
exactly.
too, just to
Oh,
like really bring this home, they do say, obviously we've talked about this before and I will continue talking about it because it's such an interesting theory. Running water, hello, is a conduit for paranormal
yep.
activity. So if
Hmm.
you are building a water station or like a pump station on top of human remains, what do you think is going to happen?
And it says, of course, the disturbance of these ancestral remains is believed to have caused paranormal activity in the area. Visitors and workers have reported hearing strange noises, seeing apparitions, and feeling a sense of unease while in the vicinity of the pumping station. And then, last but not least, the faceless woman. So,
Ew.
another haunting tale from Honolulu involves the legend of the faceless woman. This ghostly figure is said to have Japanese origins, which is quite I found
Mm.
quite interesting, and is often seen in isolated areas. The faceless woman appears to have no facial features or has a face that recedes until it becomes blank.
Oh,
Many who have encountered her have reported feelings of fear and dread. The origins of the faceless woman remain a mystery, but her presence continues to haunt the city. She has been seen on Highway 3 before. And it does remind me of the Japanese story of the Japanese.
split mouth
Remember,
woman.
yep,
The split mouth woman. Yeah, literally. I
yep.
wonder how they know that she's Japanese in origin.
Wonder if they relate it to someone specific.
Yeah, that's what we'll have to look more into that.
I'll look more into that. I didn't see anything when I was researching it, but now that I read, because I read this now and I'm like,
Mhm.
Japanese. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
Hawaii, then, but
yeah, that's interesting.
I guess it's that question too. Are spirits able to go to
It's possible.
anywhere they want to go?
You also have to think too in terms of just like I don't want to say all of the geography, but given that it's all down there kind of in like the like Pacific,
Mhm.
I'm wondering because like technically that would be like in the like same geographical area. I'm wondering if maybe she was just like, this kind of reminds me of home,
Well, I
you know?
wonder how far is Hawaii away? Well, wait a minute. You have Japan's not. Where are
I'm
they in
looking.
Because I wonder if. Oh, wait a minute. I wonder
They're
if there
not
was an immigration. I wonder if there was an immigration of Japanese people that went to Hawaii back in the day, though.
so well they're I mean, I don't know about that, but they are pretty far apart. So like
Oh,
here is
Japanese bomb the
Hawaii.
Japanese bombed Pearl
Oh
Harbor.
my gosh, how did I forget that? Wow. Wow.
I wonder if I'll have to look that
We'll look more into it. That's an interest I
because
mean,
that's crazy.
mhm. That
Oh
I just
wow,
wanna know,
yeah,
like, why would they would say that she is of Japanese origin on the island like, on an island in Hawaii, like, why would she be
right.
on Honolulu and not in Japan? Unless maybe she lived there during her life and, like you said, it's attributed to a single person. So, I don't know. That's
Well,
just interesting to me.
I'll definitely look on it. So, for all of you out there who joined us, thank you so much for joining us on our first live. Hey, it's StreamYard. Unfortunately, it's going to have some lag, nothing that we can do about it, but
Yeah.
we will be dropping the episode in a day or two on Studio Sinister. We're available on all streaming platforms, of course, the big ones, Apple, Spotify, all of those. Remember to please check Courtney out on Haunts. I love
Thanks,
her
guys.
show. I'm her number one fan. In a
You
good way.
really are.
Not
And
crazy.
I can't say how much I thank you for just all of the love you've given, Haunts. Because it's literally been a year. So we've known each other for a year at this point. Isn't that crazy?
And we're going to be getting together soon to do some paranormal investigations that we're going to record. So I'm very stoked with that to make like our own little documentary of Courtney and
Do
Ferris
do do
travels.
do do
I'm
do
going to
do.
try to drag her back to the Bell Witch Cave because
I don't want to. I'm so scared.
I know, but I think you and Kate Batts have a little conversation to
We
have.
have some yeah, we need to come to some sort of um
And I
what's
think
the
she has
what's the
something to
nice
do in
way?
here.
What's the nice way same? But like how do we need to compromise on some things, I think is
Mhm.
like then
That's a good
like
word.
respectfully, if you're
Mhm.
around, I'm not angry. I just, want to see what's going on. I'm sorry if I
Mhm.
upset you and figure out, how to make you not upset with me anymore.
What I don't like
So,
is I remember still hearing from your mouth saying she picked the house that we bought so she can keep an eye on me.
I
And
that's exactly how I feel.
that is just that gives me chills, and I also think she has something to do with this place, not all of it, of course, but
No.
I do believe that there's something that I think she may go back and forth, or she feeds off whatever is here in my place too, and that's why she goes back and forth,
You
but
also have to think too, your house is not to triangulate to where you live, but it's very, very, very close. Let me just put it that way. And I'm wondering if maybe the land that you live on, like this area of Tennessee,
Mhm.
is within her, let's say, domain as a
Mm.
paranormal entity. I wonder if
Oh,
maybe she just can.
dude, I didn't even put together that I'm 30 minutes away from the Bell Witch Cave.
Yeah.
So she could even just
That's what
triangulate.
I mean. Like, I think that
Yeah.
she has you know, she has like the domain of like a certain maybe she has a range that she can reach without, having trouble, for lack of
Mhm.
better words. And I wonder if your house just happens to be in that area and she's able to kind of use that as like a jumping off point.
Right. And I think, you have to know about Courtney and I. We're ones that we want to dig into everything. Like,
Mhm.
even if something scary happens, I can't tell you how many times Courtney is like, well, do you want to like do a cleansing? And what do I say every time? No,
No,
let's
but
wait for some more evidence.
you've told me to do the same thing. I think when we first met, you were like, "You need to get a priest for your house," and I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I'll figure it out."
Right, exactly. So I just think it's funny because we want to learn so much, and I think the only way that you can learn is by, well, first of all, we need to go and do it ourselves. Go to the
Yeah.
cave and a couple other places too. Like I think we're going to go to, depending on, of course, schedules of if they're booked when we want to go or not. But
Yeah.
Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary is here by me. Harriman Hospital is here in Tennessee. The LBL, which I kind of want to go search for Dogman out there too and drag Courtney with me. But other than that, yes, we are lurking on all social media. So please go follow us. Instagram. I'm tongue twisted. Can't help it. I think this was a great episode and everything went smoothly besides a little lag, but
Yeah, I'm
it
sorry about that,
happens.
guys.
But please follow us. Start listening to our show if you haven't. Give us a chance. I think a lot of the different stories that we cover, we not only do infamous stories, we're ones to dig for more like lesser known too. So we give you, something hopefully maybe that you haven't heard before. But other than that, also, if you have a scary story, experience, or encounter that you'd like to share, whether it's paranormal, UFO, cryptid, does not matter. Email us at studiosinisterpod@gmail.com, or you can go to our Instagram and we have a share your scare form for you to fill out in our bio. So you can also do it that way. And you have an opportunity to either be a guest on the show. You could send in your story and we can read on the air, or you can also even post it on our blog. So also studiosessions.blog. Make sure that you go and subscribe so you never miss an episode extra or any of our blog posts. And until next time, stay true.
Stay you.
Stay
Stay sinister.
sinister. Peace out, everybody.
Bye.